Hello.
Well, hello, Miss Elena. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
I've
Just
never been on a Google Hangout, so I don't know what's going on.
we did a pretty good job so far.
I just kept clicking OK.
Okay, good deal. I'm just waiting on a few more people to join. I think we have a limit, so we'll probably reach it pretty quick. So, Gary, it's good to see you, man. I think you got your camera turned off, but can you hear us okay? I think Gary's still working out the details on his microphone and camera there. So, did you enjoy Vegas, Elena?
I did. I didn't think the conference was all that worthwhile, but the people certainly were. Hanging out. The actual Jason's early day was good, but the other stuff not so much. You?
Yeah, I had a pretty productive time. I actually left a day early. My daughter called me in the middle of the night, and she had hurt her leg and hurt her knee playing basketball. So I took off Saturday morning, went back to Indiana to take her to a doctor because she's still a minor for a couple more weeks.
Wow. Is she all right?
Yeah, she's more than okay. We just got back to Houston. The wife and all the kids, we went to Indiana and watched them. They won their sectional championship for the second year in a row. So
Oh my God.
yeah, that's a big deal. Uh,
Is she tall like you?
yeah, she's tallish, I guess.
I played junior Olympic basketball back when you didn't have to be 6 to be a point guard.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
I played with girls back then in the 80s who could dunk.
wow, what was the goal? Like 8 foot then?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
I said, was the goal only 8?
No, it was regular.
So I have a lot of viewers here not actually joined the chat. I just sent out an invitation for you guys. If you'll actually follow the invitation within the Google Plus platform, you ought to be able to join us, and we can see and hear you. And Gary, if you want to join live, you can unmute your microphone and turn your webcam on, and you should be able to join Elena and I. If Elena can do it, anybody can. This is her first rodeo.
True that.
Yeah. It takes people a few minutes to get their stuff together, so we can just hang out and chat for a minute. Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you sending those notes over from the first day of Rapid Crush. That was pretty good stuff.
They were pretty helpful, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen notes like that since I was cheating in high school.
That's what law school will do for you.
I used to write that stuff on my desk so I can pass the test. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be able to answer several questions here. We have looks like 12 viewers, but we only have you and Gary and I live here. So guys, if you log into your Google Plus, hopefully. Oh, Joy just figured it out. Hello, Joy.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
I'm good. So when you log into Google Plus, Joy, wasn't there like a little red icon that showed you had a message or an invite?
Yeah, it just kind of walked me through it, like click here and do that. So it shouldn't be too hard.
Give it a few more minutes, but usually what happens, people start popping in and out, that kind of stuff. So, no, Trevor, or no, I'm sorry, not Trevor. Eddie Lozano and a couple other people were trying to have a get together here in Houston to discuss our China trip, so that we can have kind of a Q&A. So I figured it would be more beneficial if we all just had it together. Have a message or an invite?
Yeah.
Hello, Tracy.
Shouldn't be too hard.
You in and out. Trevor, no, I'm sorry, not Trevor. Eddie Lozano and a couple other people were trying to have a get together here in Houston to discuss our China trip. I can't see you. I figured it would be more beneficial if we all had it together. Well, we got lots of audio stuff going on here. We'll figure it out. Can you hear okay, Tracy?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you, Tracy. Just
Okay.
waiting on a
I
few.
put some earphones in.
There you go. Just waiting on a few people to log in live here. Some people will be watching on YouTube, and this should be recorded, so anybody who has the YouTube link will be able to watch it after the fact as well. Give them a couple more minutes, I guess. I gotta send a couple of messages here, let people know we're live. It looks like Mr. Troy. Glad to have you, Troy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, glad to be here. Nice to see everyone.
Put some earphones in.
Just waiting on a few people. Some people will be watching on YouTube, and this should be recorded, so anybody after the fact as well. Give a couple more minutes, I guess. Okay, well, those who want to log in, I guess they'll have to figure it out along the way. So I'm here for the question. Glad to see you guys, Elena, Troy, Gary, Tracy, and Joy so far. So I know you guys have a lot of questions about how to get organized. Keep in mind that this is sort of my first rodeo when it comes to planning the trip, so I'm not going to be the most organized, but I will be pretty effective. And really looking forward to hanging out with all of you and getting to know you a little better, trying to forge not only friendships, but like I said in the email, a lot more synergies. I think we become apparent once we be able to spend some time discussing our business together. So glad to see you guys. You guys have full of questions, so Tracy and Joy so far. If you have a question, a lot of questions, just when you're clicking on the microphone icon there, Okay, so who wants to start off? You want to put me on the stand, Elena? You got some questions?
Okay, how do I do it? I just start talking and you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. And for those of you who are not actually talking, just mute the microphone. And then when you're ready to ask a question, you can unmute it. And don't be surprised if people come in, pop in and out, because that just seems to be what happens with this platform.
Okay, so my question has to do with, I know you had sent the email about bringing some products to show as examples. Are we going to have any issue getting those products into the country, and how many are we allowed to take out in terms of samples without being, hit up by customs?
Okay, well, that's a good question. What Elena's talking about there is the email that I sent out. Basically, if there's a specific product that you want to source while we're in the market over in China, it's best to actually purchase a sample from a competitor on Amazon or at the local market, wherever you want to get it, and bring those products in your suitcase. I wouldn't be afraid to have 12 or 15 different items. And going into China is not going to be a big issue. There's really not a place on the form to disclose that you have product, but if they question you, you just when you're clearing immigration, you just tell them you have some production samples, and shouldn't be a problem. Coming back from China to the U.S. is going to be a little bit trickier because they actually have customs declarations, and basically, if you have samples that are valued less than $500 or less than $1,000, there's some threshold there, then you don't even have to disclose it. But in the past, what I've done is just list the items. I got one T-shirt, I have one jump rope, whatever it is, and put the value. And as you're going through immigration, they'll just look at it and stamp it and tell you to go on. The only time that I've had any problem bringing samples back that I didn't actually declare on the customs form is I had like 150 different iPhone 4 cases that I bought. Basically, I bought them for my teenager to sell on Pinterest or whatever it is, Instagram. I don't know how they do that, but as I was walking through customs, I went through the global entry, and I had this big box, and he said, "Hey, what's in the box?" And I was like, "Oh, it's iPhone cases." He's like, "iPhone cases? How many you have?" And I'm like, "Oh, like 150." I thought he was going to confiscate them from me, but he said, "Well, you didn't declare it." I was like, "Well, I bought it as a gift for my teenager because she just loves iPhone cases." He stamped the paperwork and told me to have a great day. So just don't overthink it. It should be pretty simple to get through there. And like I said, you could have a suitcase full of samples, if the product is not for sale, it's just a sample, then I mean that's legit. You don't even have to declare it, but don't be afraid to. Does that answer your question, Elena?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Yeah, good. But yeah, definitely. Whoever brought that up in an email I sent out, I forget who it was, but said, "Hey, would it be okay to bring samples?" And that's a great way to find a source for something, you know. And what I found in the past, and was kind of accidentally reminded of, is that if I was looking for a particular shoe back when the Tom shoes were really hot, I was trying to find sort of a copy of that, and I found one manufacturer who had it. So I purchased a sample, but as I was looking for competitive quotes, pricing quotes, I basically like this water bottle. I just walked through the market and be like, "Hey, do you guys sell this?" And just hold up your product, and I just held the shoe up, and they said either yes, we have it, or no, we don't have it. If they say yes, they say come here. It's easy to get a good quote that way, and they can see the actual product and know exactly what you're talking about. I guess a standby method would be to just have photos in the photo album on your smartphone or something. You can just show the picture and see if it looks familiar to them. So should be pretty simple though. Anybody else that has a question, just unmute your microphone and let's have at it.
Well, I have another one then.
All right.
They buy a sample when we're going through the booth. Do we actually buy samples right there from those people and take them with, or is it something where we just say, "Here, this is my name and address. Send me a sample"?
Well, there's a couple different ways to approach that one as well. I've done both, Elena, and a lot of times they call this a small commodities or cash and carry market where we're going in Yiwu. And the idea is that we can go in there and buy 1 or 12 or 50 or 100 pieces of just about anything. And if the factory has samples there and they believe in the relationship, then they'll probably just give you a sample for free, especially if it's like less than $5 or something. If they have samples for sale, you can pay cash for it, either in U.S. dollar or in local currency or RMB, and take it with you. Or what I like to do is just make a sample order of 25 or 50 or 100 units and just write it up on a purchase order. And I think we talked about this a little bit in Vegas, Elena, but write the purchase order. You'll sit right down there with the factory rep or the boss and write up your order. You'll exchange contact information. And then what I like to do is take a photo of the purchase order along with the person's name card or business card. And if the business card doesn't have the booth number on it, then also walk outside, take a picture of the booth number, which will be above their little store. And then when you get back to the States, you can just wire the money, do a transfer, wire transfer, or that's the most obvious form of payment. So basically, buy one sample, bring it with you, or pay them cash and have them ship the sample DHL Express, or make a small order of 50 or 100 pieces. You don't even have to pay for it on the spot. You take a picture of the purchase order, the business card, and then either contact them when you get back in the States to make a transfer, or pay them cash on the spot, a few $100s, and they'll ship it. They're not going to cheat you. They will ship it. Or if you have a lot of orders that you want to consolidate into one shipment, you collect all these invoices, and then on the third floor in one of the buildings we're going to be in, they have a whole group of procurement agencies. And basically you hand them all the purchase orders, and they'll go collect all your goods for you for 2 or 3%. And they'll consolidate it all into one shipment and ship it to you here in the States. So hopefully that answers that question.
Was that third floor of the hotel we're staying in, or third floor of where you shop?
Yeah. The hotel is actually connected to the market, but there are 5 buildings the last time I was in Yiwu, but they're building new ones all the time. It's the third floor of the main building. I think it's building 3, which is close to our hotel. But it's pretty obvious to see. There'll be signs in there that say procurement agencies or procurement offices upstairs, and that may be where we'll spend some time the last day. I've really never used one of the procurement people on site, but I have friends who have. Obviously because I have my own staff over there, but if you guys, if you're going to be ordering 25 different products, some you have 12, 50, or 100 or 500 units, and it's going to be a little confusing, then I'd recommend using one of the local procurement agencies. But if you're only, if you have, 500 doorknobs and, 50 fly swatters and a couple of shoestrings, and it's easy for you to consolidate that yourself. Just ship them individually. So we'll have to approach that as we go through the process, and that's why I think it's going to be important for us all to get together in the evening. The market closes like 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that. So what I had thought about is, we'll get together every morning for breakfast. The hotel provides breakfast that's included with your room. And then, we'll just have kind of an informal breakfast get together, discuss our plans for the day. And then every evening we'll meet at like 8 o'clock at the same time in the hotel lobby, just to kind of sort of a debriefing, what we found, some of the opportunities that we've seen, questions that came up, or how to pick up samples, that kind of thing. And you guys will each have your own local university student there to do your translation for you, so they're going to be able to be pretty resourceful when it comes to picking up your product. And honestly, it may be a relationship that you guys want to keep in contact with, for the future, because these kids that we've hired to come in and do translation for you, they're actually studying, a lot of them, in international trade. So you just keep contact with them. I mean, they're not my friends, but they come highly recommended. Just keep that relationship, and then when you need some ears and eyes on the ground in China, you can just reach out to them and say, hey, go down to the market, see if you can find this, and get me some pricing. And they'll do that for a really small percentage, or in some cases a monthly salary, which in China right now on the low end it's like $650 a month. On the high end it's like $850 to $900 a month. You can have a full-time agent. I think Troy, you took your mic off, so I assume you have a question, buddy. It's nice to finally meet you and put a face with the name.
Yeah, likewise. Actually, Elena took my question, so thank you for that. That was fantastic. My concern, was just understanding how to get all the samples back home, and then you really hit on another big part of it, which is, I don't want it to be a one-off experience. I want to set up those relationships and be able to set up supply chains back and forth. And I guess that's my next question, Sean. Do you go to Yiwu or China like every year, or do you have supply chains in place that you use routinely back and forth, for your FBA business?
Well, good question, Troy. It kind of reminds me when they asked Peyton Manning this last season, how does it feel to know you beat every single team in the NFL? And you remember what his answer was? He said, it just means that I'm old, that's all.
I got you.
So Seth reminds
I'm with you
all the time about, how vast my network is. And I think it just, with experience, as time goes on, you just make these relationships with logistics companies, with payment processors, with agents in China, and then you just call on that network or those relationships you had down the road. So to answer your question, I use one shipping company that I've used for several years. They have a huge footprint here in the States, as well as a lot of ocean freight, and that's Old Dominion Freight Lines. Not specifically because it's going to be great for you guys, but I just started out with a great relationship with my local rep in Indianapolis, and then as their business expanded, they got into doing customs clearance, ocean freight, less than container, LTL shipments, and they actually do door delivery for huge products, with lift gate service. So it's a good one-stop shop for logistics, and they move a little slow because it's a huge company. But one of the things I like a lot about it is that they're still privately owned, and I've actually been out to their home office out in North Carolina, I believe it is. Is that the Old Dominion state? And it's worked out pretty good for me. So you can get the same relationship going with UPS. UPS does ocean freight. They do door-to-door small parcel delivery. They'll aggregate all of or consolidate all your freight in China and put it in a container to ship. So what you don't want to do, you don't want to deal with several different brokers or forwarders, because those guys, they're just they're price sensitive, and they treat shipping like a commodity. When in reality, if we're shipping multiple products, multiple SKUs to Amazon, we need really good visibility, and we need people to be accountable for the inland freight. Once your product, once it's on the plane or a boat, depending on the size and weight, how you're shipping it, then it's pretty streamlined to the States. Where you get into some issues and where you're going to need some good relationships and logistics is the inland freight. So, for example, if we're mixing a container, Seth and I have all these different products coming from different manufacturers all over, the countryside in China. They don't really have a detailed, specific type of infrastructure when it comes to moving, like UPS or something like that. So you're going to have somebody with a lot of roots in logistics in China to actually go and pick up all your product and consolidate that at the port. Because we literally, some stuff they'll drive it in on a bicycle from 20 kilometers away, and some stuff ships from the other side of the country in Chongqing. So if you want to get all those into one container to save on freight, then it's important to have somebody big in that area. And the guy that I use at Old Dominion is Terry Lane, and let me just find his email address real quick here, and I'll post it in the chat area, and you guys can reach out to him.
Thank you.
Lane's going to kill me, but it's all right. He's a sales guy, so he ought to like it, right?
That's right. And
okay. Wow. Here we go. Let's see if this works. There you go.
Thank you.
Send him an email, and he's actually a local sales rep, but whenever I deal with these big companies, I like to use one point of contact. I don't want to deal with people in several different departments. So if you email Terry Lane, tell him I sent you, and tell him you want to plug you into the right people in your area. It really is a great company, guys, and it's easy to set up terms with them. And what I've found is that they're willing to bend over backwards, to expand their footprint in China, because that's something that's important to them right now.
Very good. Can I ask one additional?
Ask all you want, man. I'm all yours until, let's see here. I think it's 10:15. No, wait a minute. I forget. I better check it. I have a conference call coming up, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Packaging, is that in terms of branding and putting items, getting packaging done for items we buy in Yiwu, is that typically done on the China side, or then once it comes back here, or somewhere in between?
Well, there's a couple of ways you can approach that. What we like to do, literally, I go in and buy product every week. I'm adding 2 or 3 different products to our catalog every week, which I know sounds crazy, but it really is easy once you get it down to the science. What I do is I purchase 500 units, 500 samples. Once we identify that's something that we want to be into, I'll purchase 500 pieces, and I'll have them ship it in a plain poly bag or OPP bag, no labels, no printing. If it's something that needs to be in a box, like a vegetable peeler or something like that, we'll say to protect it, then it needs, I just tell them to ship it in a plain white box, because speed is a lot more important than accuracy when it comes to staking a claim and, what I've been calling virtual real estate on Amazon. If you want to enter a category or, a product market, then I think the earlier the better. So 500 units is a good number for us to use to launch a new product. And then once we launch it and we prove viability and the product starts moving, then we'll either go back to the factory, and you guys will be able to do this right there at the market. Some of the people you'll be dealing with, you say, show me what you have for options on packaging, and they'll just lay 3 or 4 packages out on the table for you and have you choose one. A lot of times they'll even they'll redesign an existing package that they're using for another customer, and they'll do that at no charge, or they'll send you the AI or Adobe Illustrator native file that you can use to manipulate and make your own packaging. Unless you're a graphic artist or you have a heck of a lot extra time on your hands, what I would do is either have the factory design the packaging based on something they already have, just customize it, make it yours, or have them send you the native Adobe Illustrator file, and then you can forward that to someone on Elance or Odesk.com as a graphic designer. Somewhere between $200 and $600, you can have a real professional package designed. But definitely don't get caught up on that when it comes to launching a new product, because we're ordering thousands of items every week, and they all come in just a plain Jane box. Because for us, Troy, it's a lot more important to launch the product and get a foothold in that niche before we actually register a brand, create a logo, the packaging, instruction manual, and all that stuff. First, prove that it's viable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, and that's excellent. I happen to have a brand, and I think based on what you just said there, we'll just see if the product's viable before we even put our own logo on it, or we'll maybe not a fake logo, but a temporary logo until we know it's working before we commit to our real logo, I guess.
Well, before you actually go through the process, unless the factory really dumbs it down and makes it super painfully simple to do, then just Photoshop a logo onto your listing, because you definitely need a logo and a brand in your listing. You just don't have to have it on your package or your product right now.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Elena?
Yes. Do you use any sort of a inspection service? You go straight from China to Amazon?
It depends on the product. If it's something that's really dumb, like a rolling pin, for example, or a feather duster, then it doesn't really have any moving parts or any technology involved in it. I don't inspect it at all. When you get 500 samples in, keep one for yourself. That way, if you start getting some reviews, bad reviews, you can look at it and make changes. But unless it's really high tech with a lot of moving parts, I don't inspect it. And if it is, then we just send one of our reps to the factory to check, and you'll have to make a checklist. It's not, unless they're a really high-end, super professional factory, which most of them you'll find out are not. I mean, a factory could just be a guy in a pole barn with a dirt floor assembling stuff, So unless they're a really high-end factory, they're not going to have a checklist. You'll have to create one. You can say, this is part of my, like a standard operating procedure or something, as the product comes off the line, I want you to check A, B, C, D, and that's something you can get into later. But for me, speed is more important than accuracy again. But obviously, if you're selling something that's it's got a lot of moving parts and technology in it, then you definitely want to have an inspection. Which the factory can provide that, but I would just use an outside source, or maybe your translator if you need an inspection person, or QC they call it. Just ask them to recommend someone who can visit the factory. They can travel in China real cheap by bus, train, and plane, and they go there and inspect it, and a couple $100 goes a long way. But don't overthink it, Elena.
Thanks.
If you get 500 widgets, it costs $2 a piece. If 100% of them are bad, you're only out $1,000. So if it takes you 6 weeks to find an inspector, and then you have to spend a lot of money on it, then it's really not worth it. So let's look at the trade-off.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question from Trevor because he can't get on. That's okay.
No problem.
Yeah, he's asking about the safety of, he said that he's heard a lot about pickpocketing, how to, I guess, what is your recommendation on getting around China, have all these products, and just getting around with all that?
Yeah, I never had a problem with it. Really never felt threatened over there. But when you guys, I'll share my funny kidnapping story with you while we're there. I don't want to tell you now because I don't want you to get the wrong idea and get spooked. But it was kind of hilarious. I got scammed on my first trip. But it's a long story. We'll talk about it over a foot massage or something and laugh. But I don't think you're going to have any problem with pickpockets. In the market, the most annoying thing is all the naked kids running around peeing on the floor. It's just part of their culture. And then there's hustlers out there that are just selling little pocket gadgets, like little pocket helicopters and fake iPhones and things like that. I normally just keep my cash in my front pocket. And, like I said, it's literally you're walking across a parking lot that's heavily traveled, I guess, in the middle of the day. I never feel threatened, Besides, I'm like the size of Yao Ming over there, so I think they're all a little bit scared of me. They leave it to Trevor to come up with something like that. Well, it looks like we're the only ones here. Everyone else is just watching on YouTube, so you guys are going to have to ask some more questions so everyone else can learn. I got about 15 more minutes before I have to jump on another call.
Sean, what's the temperature? What's the attire right now in Yiwu, just to be comfortable?
Well, I would, when I go over there, I like to be like t-shirt and jeans. You don't need a jacket. It's not cold unless you just have thin blood, I guess. You're going to be walking up and down stairs, escalators in a market, so definitely have some comfortable shoes. I like to buy those really nice walking shoes before I go over there. You know how they're like got a lot of good foam in the insoles of them until you wear them down, because at the end of the day, your feet are going to be killing you. Nice loose-fitting blue jeans and a t-shirt or some kind of simple button-up. Definitely don't have to dress professional or anything like that. Most people are just there to do business and make money. You're not going to see suit and ties and those kind of things. And a jacket would be optional. Or I carry this really lightweight vest in my pack. You can actually fold it up and stick it in my pocket. That way, if I get chilly or something on a plane, I can use it. But it's not tropical, Troy, but it's definitely not Arctic either.
Got it.
I think a quick Google search for weather in Yiwu ought to tell you about what the average temperature is this time. But keep in mind, you're going to be indoors, and even if it's windy or rainy or something, it's seriously a 1-minute walk from the hotel into the market. It's all indoors.
Okay, thank you.
So definitely climate controlled and everything inside the market too.
Sean, what do you recommend as far as are we going to have Wi-Fi in the hotel, or what as far as phone? Is it best to somebody's asking in the group too, like how are we going to communicate with basically communications?
The market has really intermittent Wi-Fi. Every single factory that you sit down with will have their own Wi-Fi or their own internet that you can tap into if you need to check email or send something. What I like to do is I just call my carrier ahead of time and purchase a few minutes and more importantly data, so that you can access things on your own smartphone. What we do, we send one of my staff over there, Michael, last year. He actually just purchased a local SIM card. After the first day, you can actually just have your translator, just give him a couple bucks, tell him to bring you a SIM card. If you're telephone savvy, I'm scared to death to take mine out, so I don't mess with it. But it's whatever works here is going to work there too. It just costs a little more. And if you call your carrier ahead of time, like I'm using AT&T, say, hey, I'm going to be in China for a few days. What do you have? And they'll say, well, for $79, you can have 20 or 250 megabytes and 100 minutes, and text is 10 cents a piece, something like that. So, as far as us communicating as a group, it's going to be a little bit difficult because I'm not going to have my phone where I'm answering it over there because I'm there to work. So that's where the breakfast and the evening meeting I think is going to come in handy. And I'm going to provide all you guys with a couple things. I'm going to give you a local phone number, which changes every time I get there if you need to call me specifically. And I'll also give you a Google Voice phone number that if I have Wi-Fi or data on my phone, I can get text messages, things like that. So I would say either buy a local phone. It's going to cost you 40 or 50 bucks, or call your carrier here and tell them you're going to be there, and it'll work.
Along those same lines, do you bring a computer when you go or no?
I do, yeah. I like to use, I'm using now just a little lightweight MacBook, solid state hard drive, and I carry it around the hotel if we need to meet or send email or something like that. But as far as in the market, I don't think you need one. If you need to access Gmail or something like that, the factories will be able to log. No, I take that back. Scratch that from your record. You can't access Google in China, so forget about that. But they'll give you to use their Wi-Fi, or plug in. If you want to carry your laptop, you can plug into their Ethernet or their Wi-Fi. Each individual booth has their own.
And the language there that the translators are speaking, is that Mandarin?
Yes, yeah, they'll be speaking Mandarin, and some of them will also have Cantonese, but Mandarin is the common language, and all of your translators will be speaking Mandarin. And like I said, definitely stay in contact with those folks because they'll be instrumental in the future when it comes to navigating anything in China, the legal system or logistics or inspections and those kind of things.
Sean, Nina has a question about regarding private label. What concerns should we have about patents?
Patents are kind of a scary issue to some people. I've actually infringed on patents twice now. I know you guys have watched my earlier videos. I told the story about one patent, but recently, let me think, what was that product? Basically, what happens if we launch a product that, it was a cell phone holder, that's what it was. Once the product goes live on Amazon, then you will if someone has a problem with it because it's infringing on some patent that they're claiming, they'll send you an email, and which a lot of times you'll get an email and it's just some malicious competitor trying to get rid of you. So if they send you an email, say, hey, you're infringing on our patent, then basically just ask for the patent number or a copy of the paperwork. They send it to you and you're infringing on it, just stop selling it. So it's something that you can check ahead of time, but I found it really difficult to find a patent specifically if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. If it's a product that you want to knock off or copy or come up with your own version of, order one of them from Amazon. If it's patented, there should be a patent number on the box. You can look it up and see exactly what's patented. I've only had the problem 2 times out of hundreds and hundreds of products. So I guess, I don't know, I think I have sort of a sixth sense about that now. If I see a product, it's pretty intuitive to me whether it's patented or not. I mean, it seems to just pop out. So go to uspto.gov, which is U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and just search for whatever the widget is you're buying or whatever the mechanism. Like, for example, an iPhone 5 windshield mount or something like that. If you type that in, you're going to have thousands of results. For me, I'd rather, I find it easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. So I just pull the trigger and run with it. And if you have a problem, just admit it and say, sorry, and go away. They'll send you a cease and desist order first, right, Alana?
Yep. True that. I got another question if I'm not being too much of a question hog here.
I want you to be. I have
Is this the sort of situation with the booze where you can bring a product and say, hey, I've gotten a lot of complaints about this. Can you make this with this thing tweaked, or are you not really dealing with people who have the factory? They're only selling what they have out there?
A little bit of both. A lot of the people are going to be real factories or factory reps that have hired to be there, and they'll be able to make tweaks. I just did a product recently that, it's a really high-end, high-selling product on color. I changed the orientation of the main part. Their thing went to the right, mine curves to the left. I changed the color of it, and I changed a couple other designs, just to get it, because a patent, there's a difference between a mechanical patent and a what's it called? Help me out, Alana. You're the lawyer here. Yeah, exactly. So if it's a design patent, then you just change the design, obviously. If it's a mechanical patent, then actually, patented what it does or how it does it, then it's kind of hard to get around that. I think you guys are going to know if you're looking at something that's patented or not, or you should anyway. Give me an idea if there's something you're looking at. Maybe I can give you my take on it. I'm just confirming these guys that I'll be on the call.
Sean, have you had any success with, electronic or some of the more sophisticated products? A little different than what some models recommend. But I have one on my list that's, it's electronic based, and my fear is I buy a bunch of them and they don't work at all. But if they did work, the margins could potentially be pretty good on it. So I'm just wondering your experience and advice on that type situation.
Well, about the most technical thing that we sell has some like FCC type guidelines around it. It's pretty much, it was kind of feeling around in the dark at first. We were dealing with several different factories, and it's got some technology behind it, but it's not super high tech because it's old technology. We had some issues with quality, and it's basically if you're looking for your widget, whatever it is, when you'll go to one aisle or 2 aisles in the market, and there'll be dozens of factories there that have the same similar product. If you want to be really strategic about it, Troy, you can buy 10 or 20 from each person, or buy one from each person and take it home and play with them. But what I found is put it out there in the consumer hands, they'll tell you what they think about it. And if we launch a product that turns out to be a bomb as far as quality goes, we'll shut that listing down and just create a new listing on a new product and address some of those issues that we've come up with. But you're not going to find all the little idiosyncrasies and things like that about the items yourself. You're going to have to put it in the consumer hands and let them give you feedback on it.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. So I got about 5 minutes here to wrap up. So I just want to, I don't have this whole thing carved in stone. I got us all some cool T-shirts that we can wear so we can recognize each other in the market. We'll take a nice picture. They have some Chinese writing on the back that basically it says in Mandarin, I sell on Amazon or something weird like that. I got the bracelets just for fun. My idea is I'm going to actually be, you guys all have a copy of my itinerary. I'm showing up the first day. I think I actually arrive in Yiwu like 5 or 6 a.m. on the first day that we're going to be shopping. So that day may be a little chaotic, but my plan is, excuse me, I'm going to check into the hotel, take a quick shower, change clothes because I'll be fresh off the plane. And then I want to have breakfast at 9 o'clock the first morning myself. You guys feel free to jump in without me because your rooms will already be reserved. You may get there before or after me, either way. The market's right there. It's open. Just do whatever you got to do. But me specifically, I'll be in the breakfast in the lobby at 9 o'clock. We can talk all you want, and then I'm going to actually go work on my business with some of my staff in the market that first day. And then every evening, we'll try the first evening at 8 o'clock. We'll meet local time in the lobby or the restaurant in the hotel lobby and kind of go over what we did for the day. It may take an hour or two. I'm obsessed with Chinese foot massage, so if anybody wants to join me for a foot massage, it's about $7 for an hour and a half of what's real close to heaven if you have feet problems. And basically, that's kind of the whole deal in a nutshell. I'm going to spend some one-on-one time with you guys, hopefully an hour or two each, just discussing your business and trying to help you get launched. My goal here is to really get everybody up to speed as far as sourcing in China, kind of get over the jitters and make it really simple for you, and hopefully we can work together and make a lot of money together using the whole abundance theory versus the scarcity theory, which Seth just turned me on to recently. You guys familiar with that? Good. Actually, I was exposed to it twice within 24 hours, so I think it means something.
Awesome.
So, any other questions? I got a couple more minutes, guys. I'm going to try to do a follow-up call here because this was kind of last minute. I just seen an opportunity. Actually, have a call here in a couple minutes, and then I'm running to the airport, headed out of town again, and I got some traveling the next couple days. So when I get back in town, I think it's Wednesday evening, I'm going to come up with something where we can have a follow-up call and give people 5 or 6 days notice so that we can have another chat like this. Hopefully it'll be helpful.
What was the abundance and scarcity theory?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It's just do a Google search for scarcity versus what was the opposite? I just said it. Abundance. Yeah, thank you, Elena. Scarcity versus abundance. Actually, Seth brought it up to me the second day in Vegas, and then I think one of the speakers who, let me think of what the name of the book is, I started reading it on the flight home when I had to run back because my daughter hurt her knee in a basketball game. So I was reading it, and the very first chapter was like, all about scarcity versus abundance. And the name of the book is, I'll give it to you in just a second. Hopefully. It's called, that's not it. It's in iBooks. It's called Killing Sacred Cows. You guys remember they presented on that?
Gunderson.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, I read the first few chapters of that, and the first one really stuck out to me because it was about the scarcity versus abundance, which is a theory that I've always bought into. I just didn't really have a definition for it. So that's a free download that he offered at the event. I actually have it in PDF. If anybody doesn't have it, just if you email me or something, I'll send you the PDF that I have. He gave it away anyway. I'm going to have to get off of here. I appreciate you guys spending some time with me here. Hopefully I've answered some of your questions. Anything else that comes up, just write it down. And like I said, I'm going to schedule a follow-up here once I get back on the ground Wednesday night or so. So we'll probably make it for, I'm guessing Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. It depends. My daughter, for those of you that didn't hear, her team won the sectional championship there in Indiana for the second year in a row. So I'm actually traveling back there this weekend for some regionals. So if she keeps winning, I'm going to stay busy up there. But if they finally lose, then I'll be able to go back to work.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Sean.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Sean.
I appreciate it. This should be live in case we covered something you want to go over again. It should be on YouTube here in just a few minutes under my channel. If not, just let me know and I'll get you a link for it. So have a good day, guys. Looking forward to speaking with you again real soon.
Thanks, Sean.
See you.
Thanks, Sean.